You proud of what you've done here, Roy?
Oh, very proud.
Battler businessman Roy Lavis used to run one of far north Queensland's most successful construction companies, the CEC Group.
And this is all yours?
We did all the work here, yeah.
The business collapsed in 2011, and Australia's small business ombudsman has now found that, if not for the actions of the Commonwealth Bank, Roy's company would be thriving today.
Well, it's perplexing to us as to how the small business ombudsman could come to these views, because they don't marry at all with the facts.
The Commonwealth Bank is so defiant it did nothing wrong, its Chief Risk Officer, David Cohen, is speaking out to publicly defend his bank.
The Small Business Ombudsman says, were it not for the actions of the Commonwealth Bank, Roy Lavis's business would have survived. She flatly accuses you of destroying Roy's business.
It raises real questions as to whether the small business ombudsman's office actually has the skills and the knowledge and the understanding to look at a case like this. The fact of the matter is that if it was not for Commonwealth Bank, CEC would not have survived for as long as it did.
All these years later, the bank now claims its crippling debt reduction was actually the idea of Roy Lavis and the CEC Group all along.
It was not Commonwealth Bank telling CEC that it needed to reduce debt. In fact, it was the reverse. CEC came to Commonwealth Bank in December 2007 saying, we need to...
David, that's not correct. Nobody's saying that. The chairman of the company at the time, Roy Lavis, the chief executive, they say in mid-February 2008, you did a complete backflip on an agreement to provide a $160 million loan facility and pulled the pin on that, insisting on a dramatic reduction in debt.
Well, that is simply not true.
But Ombudsman Kate Carnell is backing Roy Lavis and CEC's version of events.
There is nothing in any of the significant amounts of documents we've looked at to indicate that Roy didn't have the capacity to continue to trade.
So let me be clear about this. You believe that the Commonwealth Bank shut Roy Lavis down for no good reason?
I think that by doing what they did to Roy, remember, requiring him to pay back money in really short periods of time with no real evidence on why this needed to happen, this caused a scenario where Roy's business went into decline and went into liquidation.
When Roy Lavis's company was wiped out in 2011, it impacted an entire region. 750 locals lost their jobs, and thousands more subcontractors and mum and dad shareholders made huge losses.
When it happened, was it hard for you to walk the street here in Cairns?
Oh, definitely, because, you know, I've failed people who I employed, the people who I was doing business with, the subbies, suppliers, the people that I encouraged to invest in our company.
Local federal MP Warren Inch was on the board of CEC
From what happened to Roy, it's outrage. I mean,
when he says the company collapsed under the weight of CommBank's demands.
they were just focusing on exiting this region, and they were going to create an excuse to do it come hell or high water, and that's exactly what they done.
And you blame the bank?
Oh, it was totally engineered by the banks. There's no question about it.
That's one hell of an allegation, though, Warren.
It's a fact.
The bank says it's done nothing wrong.
Let me tell you, these agreements that the banks get you to sign, they could take you out to the back of the shed and shoot you, literally shoot you, and they could argue successfully that it's within their terms of agreement. I mean, it is so much one-sided. There is nothing that the banks could not do that they couldn't argue they're doing legally because it's in the terms, because it's within the terms of agreement.
When I started in this process for this banking inquiry, I believed that, that there'd be two sides to every story. I believed that, that banks wouldn't operate this way. I just believed that. It was just the more we got into these stories like Roy's, the more I realised people really were treated unfairly and really were hurt, and really do need to have some justice. Well, CommBank is our biggest bank. It has, I think, an obligation, a moral obligation to settle with people like Roy.
Both Kate Carnell and Warren Inch are backing calls for a bank tribunal with the power to investigate cases like Roy's and to levy penalties against bad banks.
The banks do need to be held to account, and if we can't do that with a tribunal, then the only other option is a Royal Commission.
Something tells me, David, this is going to end up in the banking tribunal. They want Roy Lavis's case to be test case number one. Are you worried about that?
We are very happy to appear before any tribunal.
So just to be clear, Commonwealth Bank made no mistakes in Roy Lavis's case.
Commonwealth Bank supported CEC for 3.5 years to enable it to survive. We sought to work with CEC to help it survive.
Did you make any mistakes?
We continued to support CEC throughout the 3.5 years.
For Roy, his battle with the Commonwealth Bank is far from over. If nothing else, he's determined to keep fighting for change so that no other Australian business suffers the same fate.
The whole nation is being held to ransom by the banks. Until that stops, as a nation, we're going nowhere.
If you had the opportunity to stare down the men,
I'd love to.
what would you say to them?
I'd say, you bastards. Look what you did to so many people in Cairns and the whole Cairns community. And what are you doing to the rest of the people in Australia? You know, stories there every day of bank bastardry.